The baby monitor crackled at 3:17 a.m., and Simone's eyes opened in the darkness. Her husband Brandon had left 3 days ago for a business conference in Miami. The monitor, a clever little device she'd tucked into the side pocket of his suitcase, was supposed to ease her mind. For months something had felt wrong. The late nights. The distracted smiles. The way he looked through her instead of at her. She reached for the device on her nightstand, her heart already racing before her mind caught up. She has no idea, a woman's voice said through the static. Young. Confident. Amused. Simone sat up slowly, her silk nightgown sliding against the sheets. She recognized the voice. Tanya from Brandon's office. The new marketing director who Brandon mentioned too casually too often. Baby, you worry too much. That was Brandon's voice, smooth and relaxed in a way he never sounded at home anymore. Simone is clueless. She trusts me completely. The woman laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Still, 3 more months feels like forever. I'm tired of sneaking around. 3 months is nothing. Brandon's voice moved closer to the monitor. Simone could picture him in whatever hotel room he'd taken Tanya to, could see him probably touching her the way he used to touch his wife. That's when the transfer completes. I've been moving money for 6 months now. Small amounts she'll never notice. By the time we file for divorce, everything will be in the offshore accounts you set up. Simone's hand tightened on the monitor. Her breath came shallow and fast, but she forced herself to stay quiet. To listen. And you're sure about the house? Tanya asked. The house is in both our names, but I've been paying the mortgage solo for 2 years. Any judge will give it to me. Plus, I've got records showing she's been overspending on her credit cards. Makes her look financially irresponsible. Records you created, Tanya said, her voice full of admiration. Records I created, Brandon agreed. By the time this is over, Simone won't have anything. No money, no house, no credibility. She'll be exactly what she was when I met her at that community college. A nobody with nothing. The cruelty in his voice cut deeper than any knife. Simone had given this man 8 years. 8 years of cooking his favorite meals, supporting his career, putting her own dreams on hold. She'd left her graphic design aspirations behind to be the perfect corporate wife, attending his company functions, entertaining his colleagues, playing her role with a smile. What about her inheritance? Tanya asked. Her grandmother left her that money last year. Already handled. I convinced her to put it in our joint investment account for better returns. I've been slowly moving that too. She signs whatever I put in front of her. Never even reads it. Simone pressed her fist against her mouth to keep from making a sound. The inheritance from Grandma Rose. $50,000 that her grandmother had saved her entire life. Money meant to give Simone security, freedom, a cushion. Brandon had suggested the investment account over dinner one night, making it sound so reasonable, so smart. She trusted him with her family's legacy. You're brilliant, Tanya said. Though I still don't understand why you married her in the first place. Brandon sighed and Simone could hear the rustle of sheets. I was young and stupid. She was pretty enough, sweet, easy to control. I thought having a wife would make me look stable for the company. It worked. But now I'm VP and I don't need her anymore. I need someone like you. Someone ambitious. Someone who gets it. Someone who's not boring, Tanya added. They both laughed. Simone set the monitor down carefully on her nightstand. Her hands weren't shaking. Her breath had steadied. Something cold and clear had settled into her chest, pushing out the hurt, replacing it with perfect, crystalline focus. She looked around the bedroom. Their bedroom. The cream walls she'd painted herself. The framed photos of their wedding day, their vacations, their life together. All lies. Beautiful, carefully constructed lies. She picked up her phone and checked the time. 3:34 a.m. The house was silent except for the distant hum of the refrigerator and the occasional crackle from the monitor. Brandon and Tanya had gone quiet, probably asleep in each other's arms. Simone opened her phone's recording app. She'd been recording since the moment she heard Tanya's voice. 37 minutes of confession, of conspiracy, of betrayal spelled out in their own words. She got out of bed and walked to the window. The street outside was empty, lit by yellow street lamps. She'd lived in this house for 5 years. She'd planted the rose bushes in the front yard. She'd painted the shutters blue. She'd built a life here or thought she had. But none of it had been real. The old Simone would have confronted him. Would have called him right now, screaming and crying. Would have thrown his things on the lawn and changed the locks. The old Simone would have acted on emotion, on hurt, on the need to make him see what he'd done. But that's what they'd expect. That's what they'd prepared for. Simone smiled at her reflection in the dark window. She looked calm, composed. Her brown skin looked almost luminous in the dim light, her natural hair pulled back in the silk scarf she wore to bed. She looked exactly like the woman Brandon thought he could erase. She walked to her closet and pulled out the blue dress she'd been saving for their anniversary next month. There wouldn't be an anniversary. There wouldn't be a confrontation. There wouldn't be the messy divorce Brandon and Tanya had planned. There would be something else entirely. Simone went downstairs to the kitchen and made herself tea. Chamomile with honey. She sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Brandon had convinced her to sign away her inheritance, and opened her laptop. She created a new folder on her desktop. Named it Project Phoenix. Inside, she started a document titled Timeline and Evidence. At the top she wrote, Day 1. Then she began to type everything she'd heard. Every word, every detail, every piece of the plan they'd laid out so confidently in the darkness, never knowing she could hear every syllable. By the time the sun rose at 6:43 a.m., Simone had 4 pages of notes, a backup of the recording saved in 3 different locations, and a plan taking shape in her mind. Her phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. Morning beautiful. Missing you. Conference is boring without you. Home Friday. Simone looked at the message for a long moment. Then she typed back. Miss you too. Can't wait to see you. Love you. She sent it and finished her tea. Friday was 3 days away. That gave her 72 hours to become someone Brandon had never prepared for. Someone who wouldn't cry, wouldn't beg, wouldn't break. Someone who would disappear so completely that by the time he realized what happened, she'd be untouchable. Simone closed her laptop and went upstairs to shower. She had a lot to do. First, she needed to call her sister Nicole. Then she needed a lawyer. A good one. The baby monitor crackled one more time from the bedroom, but Simone didn't need it anymore. She had everything she needed. She had the truth, and the truth was going to set her free. Simone called her sister from her car at 8 a.m. She'd driven to a coffee shop 3 miles from the house, someplace Brandon never went. The recording from the baby monitor played on her phone, speaker volume low. Nicole's gasp came sharp through the line. That son of a... Simone, I'm coming over right now. No. Simone sipped her latte, her voice steady. You can't. He'll be back Friday. Everything has to look normal. Normal? Simone, he's stealing from you. He's planning to leave you with nothing. I know. Simone watched people walking past the window. People going to work, living their lives, unaware that her entire world had shifted in the space of a night. That's why I need you to listen very carefully. I need a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. I need the best divorce attorney in the city. Nicole was quiet for a moment. Then, Patricia Monroe. Who? Patricia Monroe. She's a shark. Handled my friend Gabrielle's divorce last year. The husband tried to hide assets, claimed Gabrielle was an unfit mother, tried everything. Patricia destroyed him. Gabrielle got full custody, the house and her business. The man ended up in a 1-bedroom apartment paying alimony and child support. Simone felt something like hope stir in her chest. Can you get me her number? I'll do better. I'll get you an appointment. Today if possible. Nicole. Simone's voice cracked for the first time. I trusted him. With everything. I know, honey. I know. But you're going to get through this. And you're going to be smarter about it than he ever expected. They talked for another 20 minutes. Nicole promised to call Patricia Monroe's office the moment it opened. Simone promised to document everything, to act natural, to not give Brandon any hint that she knew. By 10 a.m., Simone was sitting in Patricia Monroe's office downtown. The lawyer was a black woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked hair pulled into a neat bun and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. She wore a red blazer and gold jewelry that caught the light when she moved. Patricia listened to the entire recording without interrupting. When it finished, she leaned back in her leather chair and studied Simone. This is good, Patricia said. Very good. He's confessed to fraud, asset hiding, embezzlement from joint accounts. The mistress is complicit. How did you get this recording? Baby monitor in his suitcase, Simone said. Is it legal? In this state, you can record conversations in your own home or spaces you have legal access to. His hotel room is trickier, but he didn't know he was being recorded, and you're married. We can work with it. More importantly, the content is so damning that even if we couldn't use the recording directly in court, it tells us exactly what to look for. Patricia pulled out a legal pad and began making notes. How long has the affair been going on? I don't know exactly. Maybe 6 months? He mentioned moving money for that long. And your inheritance? 50,000 from my grandmother. He convinced me to put it in our joint investment account 4 months ago. Patricia's jaw tightened. We're getting that back. All of it. Plus damages. Tell me about the mortgage on the house. For the next hour, Simone answered questions. Patricia took copious notes, occasionally asking Simone to clarify dates or details. The lawyer's efficiency was comforting. This wasn't emotional for Patricia. This was a puzzle to solve, a case to win. Here's what we're going to do, Patricia said finally. First, you're going to open a personal bank account today. Not at your current bank. Somewhere new. You're going to start documenting every expense, every transaction. Take photos of statements, jewelry, anything of value in the house that's yours. Make an inventory. Simone nodded, taking notes on her phone. Second, we're going to quietly pull all financial records. Bank statements, investment accounts, credit cards, everything. I'll need authorization to access the joint accounts. We're going to trace where every penny went. What about the offshore accounts he mentioned? Patricia smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. That's where your husband made his first mistake. If there are offshore accounts, there's a paper trail. Money doesn't just teleport. It has to move through banks' transfer systems. We'll find it, and when we do, we'll freeze everything. Can we do that? With the right court orders, absolutely. Especially once we prove fraud. Judges don't look kindly on spouses who try to hide assets during divorce proceedings. Patricia tapped her pen on the desk. Third, we need to talk about your employment. Are you working? Simone felt her cheeks heat. No. I used to do graphic design, but I stopped after we got married. Brandon wanted me to focus on being there for him, for his career. Of course he did. Patricia made a note. That actually works in our favor. You gave up your career to support his. That's a factor in spousal support calculations. But I want you to start looking for work. Even freelance. It shows independence and gives you your own income stream. I can do that. Good. Fourth, and this is important. Patricia leaned forward, her gaze intense. You cannot let him know you know. Not yet. You go home, you smile, you play the devoted wife. When he comes back Friday, you welcome him home. You act normal. Can you do that? Simone thought about the cold clarity that had settled in her chest at 3:17 a.m. The way the hurt had transformed into something harder, sharper. Yes, I can do that. If you slip, if he suspects anything, he'll move faster. He'll hide things better. We need time to gather everything to build the strongest case possible. Then when we're ready, we hit him with everything at once. No warning. No chance to prepare. Simone felt a smile tug at her lips. Like he was planning to do to me. Exactly like that. Except we're going to do it legally and completely above board. When this is over, you're going to have what's rightfully yours, and he's going to have to explain his actions to both a judge and possibly his employer. His employer? He mentioned embezzlement with the mistress. If they're moving company money, that's a crime. We can't prove it yet, but if we find evidence, I have a friend in corporate law who would be very interested. They spent another 30 minutes working out the details. Patricia quoted her fee, which made Simone's stomach clench, but Nicole had warned her that good lawyers weren't cheap. Simone could cover the retainer with the money from her personal savings account, the small one Brandon didn't know about that she'd kept from before their marriage. By noon, Simone had signed a retainer agreement, provided Patricia with access to pull financial records, and had a list of tasks to complete before Brandon came home. She drove to a different bank and opened a new checking and savings account in her name only. She deposited half the money from her secret savings account. The other half would go to Patricia. Then she went home and began photographing everything. The jewelry Brandon had given her over the years. Her grandmother's pearl necklace. The art prints she'd bought. Her laptop. Her clothes. Everything that was unquestionably hers. She opened drawers and found the folder where Brandon kept important documents. Marriage certificate. Tax returns. Bank statements. She photographed every page, uploading them to a secure cloud storage account Patricia had recommended. In Brandon's office, she found his laptop open. He'd left it on just sleeping. She woke it and found his email still logged in. Her hands hesitated over the keyboard. Reading his email felt like crossing a line, even after everything she knew. Then she remembered his voice. She'll be exactly what she was when I met her. A nobody with nothing. Simone opened his sent folder. The emails to Tanya went back 7 months. Flirtation at first. Then explicit planning. Detailed discussions about which accounts to target, how much to move, when to make it official. There were emails to someone named Richard about offshore accounts. Emails to a realtor about investment properties Simone had never heard of. She photographed everything, her anger growing with each message. He'd been planning this for so long. Every smile, every kiss, every "I love you" for the past 7 months had been a lie told to keep her compliant while he dismantled their life. By the time she finished, she had 300 photos documenting his betrayal. That night, she called Nicole again. "How did it go?" "Patricia is amazing. We're building a case. I've got photos of everything." "Good. Now come stay with me until Friday. You shouldn't be alone in that house." "I can't. If the neighbors see me leaving with suitcases, someone might mention it to Brandon. Everything has to look normal." Nicole sighed. "I hate this. I hate that he gets to come home and pretend while you have to smile and play along. It's only 3 more days." "And Nicole?" Simone looked around the kitchen at the life she'd built that was really just a set piece in someone else's scheme. "I'm going to be okay. Better than okay. I know you are. You're stronger than he ever gave you credit for." After they hung up, Simone made dinner. Chicken pasta, Brandon's favorite. She set it in the fridge for later and made herself a salad. She poured a glass of wine and sat on the couch with her laptop. She opened her email and started searching for freelance graphic design work. It had been years, but her skills were still there. She updated her portfolio website, dusted off her resume, and sent inquiries to 3 companies looking for contract designers. One responded within an hour, asking if she could start on a small project right away. Logo design for a startup. $600 for 3 concepts. Simone accepted the job and got to work. By midnight, she'd finished 2 of the logo concepts and sent them over for review. The creative work felt good, felt like remembering a part of herself she'd forgotten existed. She checked her phone. A text from Brandon. "Can't sleep. Thinking about you. 2 more days." Simone stared at the message. 2 more days. 2 more days of pretending. Then she could stop being the woman he thought she was and become someone entirely new. "Thinking about you too," she typed back. "Sleep well." She set her phone down and opened her Project Phoenix folder. Added today's notes, uploaded the new photos, updated her timeline. In 72 hours, Brandon would come home expecting the same compliant wife he'd left behind. But that woman was already gone. Thursday morning, Simone woke to an email from the startup. They loved her logo concepts and wanted to move forward with one of them. $600 would be deposited into her account by end of day. They also asked if she'd be interested in doing their website design. Another $2,000. She accepted while still in bed, her laptop balanced on her knees. The morning sun came through the curtains, turning the bedroom golden. Brandon would be home tomorrow. 24 more hours of preparation. Her phone rang. Patricia Monroe. "Good morning," the lawyer said. "I have news. We pulled the financial records." "Simone, it's worse than we thought." Simone's stomach dropped. "How much worse?" "He's been siphoning money for almost a year, not 6 months. Small amounts at first so you wouldn't notice. Then larger chunks. From the joint checking, the savings, the investment account where your inheritance is. Total, he's moved approximately $82,000. $82,000. The room spun slightly. "But we don't have that much. Our savings were maybe $40,000 and my inheritance was $50. That's $90, but we've had expenses." "Exactly. Which means he's been moving money before it even hit your joint accounts. His paychecks, bonuses, everything has been getting diverted. You've been living on your savings without realizing it. That's why." Simone thought back over the past year. The time she'd suggested they take a vacation, and Brandon had said money was tight. The time she'd wanted to buy something for the house, and he'd said they needed to be more careful. All while he was stealing their future. That's why he kept saying we couldn't afford things. "Yes. He's been gaslighting you about your financial situation while robbing you blind." Patricia's voice was cold with anger. "But here's where it gets interesting. I had my investigator look into those offshore accounts. We found them. 3 of them. 1 in the Cayman Islands, 2 in Switzerland. Combined balance of $78,000. He hasn't moved it all yet." "No. And more importantly, we found something else. The accounts aren't just in his name. Tanya's name is on them too." Simone sat up straighter. "What does that mean?" "It means they're joint accounts. Which means she's not just his mistress. She's his financial co-conspirator. And that means we can go after her too if we need to." "But how did he open offshore accounts?" "Isn't that complicated?" "It is. Which means he had help. Professional help. We're tracing the transactions, looking for who set this up for him. My guess is either a corrupt accountant or someone at his company who knows how to move money quietly. Simone thought about the emails she'd found. There was a name in his emails. Richard. He was discussing offshore accounts with someone named Richard. Do you have copies of those emails? I photographed everything. I'll send them to you right now. She spent the next 20 minutes forwarding all the photos to Patricia's secure email. The lawyer called her back within the hour. Richard Thornton. He's the CFO at your husband's company. This gets more interesting by the minute. If the CFO is involved in setting up personal offshore accounts for Brandon and Tanya, that suggests potential company fund misappropriation. You mean embezzlement? I mean potential embezzlement. We can't prove it yet. But I'm going to make a call to my contact in corporate law. If there's something illegal happening at that company, they need to know. After Patricia hung up, Simone sat in the bedroom trying to process it all. Brandon hadn't just betrayed her. He'd built an entire alternate financial reality, complete with offshore accounts and corporate conspirators. This was bigger than an affair. This was organized fraud. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tanya. Simone stared at the screen. She'd never given Tanya her number. She opened the message. Hi Simone. Brandon mentioned you might be interested in joining the company's book club. We meet Tuesday nights. Let me know if you'd like to come. The audacity was breathtaking. The woman having an affair with her husband, helping him steal her money, was texting her about book club. Simone's first instinct was to ignore it. Her second was to respond with fury. Her third, the one she followed, was to reply with perfect friendliness. That sounds lovely. I'll check with Brandon and let you know. Thanks for thinking of me. 3 dots appeared, then Tanya's response. Great. Hope to see you there. Simone set her phone down carefully. She felt like she was in a play and everyone around her was an actor except her. But now she knew the script. Now she knew what role they expected her to play. And she was going to play it perfectly until the curtain fell. She spent the afternoon organizing her evidence. Created a spreadsheet tracking every transaction Patricia had flagged. Cross-referenced dates with the emails from Brandon's computer. Built a timeline showing exactly when money moved and where it went. The picture that emerged was damning. For 11 months, Brandon had been systematically stealing from their marriage while maintaining the appearance of normalcy. Every dinner with colleagues, every work trip, every late night at the office had been part of this plan. She found emails between Brandon and Tanya discussing how to handle the divorce. They'd planned to claim she was mentally unstable, financially irresponsible, possibly unfaithful. They'd planned to paint her as the villain in their story. Simone printed out the most damaging emails and put them in a folder labeled Evidence. She made 3 copies. One for Patricia, one for Nicole, one for herself. That evening she drove to Nicole's apartment. Her sister opened the door and pulled her into a hug. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Better than okay actually. Simone came inside and sat on Nicole's couch. I got a freelance job. $600 for a logo, maybe $2,000 more for a website. Simone, that's amazing. It feels good to be working again. I'd forgotten how much I loved design. Nicole made them tea and they sat together talking about everything except Brandon. Nicole told her about the promotion she'd gotten at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. About her boyfriend, Jerome, who was thinking about proposing. About normal, healthy relationship things. It made Simone realize how abnormal her marriage had become. How isolated she'd been. How many parts of herself she'd put away to be Brandon's wife. I'm proud of you, Nicole said finally, for how you're handling this. A lot of women would have confronted him by now, made it messy. The old me would have. But Patricia's right. If I show my hand too early, he'll hide more. He'll find a way to explain it away or make me look crazy. This way, I'm building something he can't escape from. When will you file? Patricia says we need another week after he gets back. Time to finish documenting everything to make sure we have it all. Then we file, freeze the accounts, and hit him with everything at once. Nicole raised her teacup. To revenge served cold. Simone clinked her cup against her sister's. To getting what's mine and getting out. That night, back at the house, Simone packed a small suitcase. Nothing obvious. Just some clothes, important documents, her laptop. Things she could grab quickly if she needed to leave. She hid it in the back of her closet behind winter coats. Then she cleaned the house top to bottom. Vacuumed, dusted, changed the sheets. Made everything perfect for Brandon's return. She grocery shopped, buying all his favorite foods. Put fresh flowers on the table. Created the image of a wife who'd missed her husband, who was excited to have him home. Friday morning, she woke early and put on a green dress Brandon had once said he loved. did her makeup, styled her hair, looked in the mirror at a woman who appeared happy and whole. At 2 p.m. her phone buzzed. Landing in an hour. Can't wait to see you. Simone took a deep breath. Picked up the phone. I'll be here waiting. Love you. She went downstairs and finished preparing dinner. Steak and roasted vegetables. Wine breathing on the counter. Candles ready to light. At 3:30 p.m. she heard his car in the driveway. Simone checked her reflection one more time. Smooth face. Warm smile. No trace of the cold fury that had taken root in her heart. The door opened. Simone, Brandon called out, his voice full of false warmth. I'm home. She walked to the entryway and let him pull her into a hug. Let him kiss her. Let him tell her how much he'd missed her. And she smiled and said all the right things while thinking about the folder of evidence in her closet and the lawyer who was preparing to destroy him. Welcome home, she said sweetly. I made your favorite dinner. Brandon smiled, thinking he'd fooled her completely. He had no idea the trap was already closing. The weekend passed in a blur of careful performance. Simone cooked Brandon's meals, laughed at his stories about the conference, listened to him complain about work stress. All while the baby monitor sat in her nightstand drawer, its job complete. Monday morning Brandon went back to work. Simone waited until his car disappeared down the street, then called Patricia. How was the reunion? Perfect. He suspects nothing. Simone opened her laptop at the kitchen table. What's next? I spoke with my contact in corporate law. He's very interested in the Richard Thornton connection. Apparently, there have been whispers about financial irregularities at that company for months. Nothing concrete, but enough that the board has been concerned. Your evidence might be exactly what they need. What happens if there is company embezzlement? Criminal charges, potentially. But that's separate from our divorce case. For us, what matters is documenting everything and making sure we can recover your money. Patricia paused. I also want to talk about your long-term plans. Have you thought about what happens after the divorce? Simone looked around the kitchen. The house suddenly felt like a cage. I can't stay here. Even if I get the house and the divorce, I don't want it. Too many memories. That's reasonable. Where would you go? I don't know yet. Maybe another city. Start fresh somewhere new. If you're serious about that, start looking now. Jobs, apartments, whatever you need. The sooner you have an exit strategy, the better. After they hung up, Simone opened her laptop and started searching. Job listings for graphic designers in other cities. She'd always wanted to see Seattle. Or maybe Portland. Somewhere green and rainy and completely different from here. She found a listing for a senior graphic designer at a tech company in Seattle. The salary made her eyes widen. Twice what Brandon made. The position required a portfolio and 3 interviews, but they were hiring immediately for the right candidate. Simone spent the rest of the day updating her portfolio. Added the new logo she designed. Created mock-ups of other projects. By evening her website looked professional and current. She submitted her application to the Seattle job and 3 others in different cities. Tuesday she got a call for a phone interview with the Seattle company. Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Her heart raced as she confirmed the time. Wednesday Patricia called with an update. We found more offshore accounts. 5 total now. Combined balance of just over $93,000. $93,000. Simone felt dizzy. Where did that extra money come from? Best we can tell, bonuses and some suspicious transfers from the company. My corporate law contact is building his own case. But here's the important part. We're ready to file. I want to do it Monday of next week. Give you one more weekend to prepare, then we hit him first thing Monday morning. What will happen? You'll move out Sunday night. Stay with your sister or get a hotel room, your choice. Monday morning I file the divorce papers. Simultaneously we file for emergency court orders to freeze all accounts, including the offshore ones. A sheriff will serve Brandon at his office. By noon he won't be able to touch any of the money. Then we let him scramble. What about Tanya? Patricia's voice took on a sharp edge. The corporate investigation will handle her. If they find evidence of embezzlement, she'll have bigger problems than a workplace affair. How long will the divorce take? With this much evidence and fraud involved, we can push for an expedited hearing. Maybe 3 months if we're lucky. 6 at most. But the money will be frozen the whole time, and you'll have access to joint funds for living expenses through the court. 3 to 6 months. Simone could survive that. Especially if she got one of the jobs she'd applied for. Thursday morning, she dressed in a blue blouse and sat at her desk for the phone interview. The hiring manager for the Seattle position was a woman named Janelle, warm and direct. They talked for 45 minutes about design philosophy, project management, working with cross-functional teams. "Your portfolio is impressive," Janelle said. "Especially considering you haven't been working full-time recently. What made you decide to come back?" Simone chose her words carefully. "I took time to support my husband's career. But I've realized I need my own path. My own identity separate from my marriage. Design is my passion and I'm ready to pursue it fully. I appreciate your honesty. Can you come to Seattle for an in-person interview? We'd fly you out, put you up in a hotel, cover all expenses." "Absolutely. When?" "How's next Thursday? We could do a full day. Meet the team, tour the office, have lunch with the department head." "Next Thursday. 10 days away. 3 days after the divorce filing." Simone would either be free or in the middle of chaos. But either way she needed this. "That works perfectly." They scheduled the details. Simone hung up and sat back in her chair, her heart pounding. A job in Seattle. A real, substantial job with benefits and a future. A life that had nothing to do with Brandon or this house or the lies she'd been living. She called Nicole. "I have a job interview in Seattle. In person. They're flying me out." Nicole screamed with excitement. "Simone, that's incredible. This is really happening. You're really getting out." "I'm terrified." "Of course you are. But you're also brave. And smart. And so much stronger than he ever knew." Nicole paused. "Have you thought about what you'll say when he finds out? When you're gone and the accounts are frozen and he realizes you knew everything?" Simone thought about the baby monitor, about that cold, clear moment at 3:17 a.m. "I won't say anything. I'll be gone. He can figure it out himself." Friday evening, Brandon came home excited about something. He poured himself a drink and sat on the couch next to Simone. "So, we need to talk about something." Simone's stomach clenched, but she kept her face neutral. "What's up?" "The company is doing a big restructuring. They're offering early retirement packages to some of the older executives. Creating opportunities for people like me to move up." "That sounds good." "It is good. But it also means changes. More responsibility, more travel." He took her hand. "I know it's been hard with me being gone so much. But this next year is going to be crucial for my career. I need you to understand that." Translation: "I need you to keep being compliant while I finish stealing from you." Simone squeezed his hand. "I understand. Your career is important. I support you." He smiled, relieved. "I knew you would. You've always been so supportive. So understanding." "Of course," she said, thinking about Monday. About court orders and frozen accounts and the look on his face when he realized his perfect plan had fallen apart. "I love you." The lie tasted bitter, but she said it anyway. Saturday, she told Brandon she needed to visit Nicole because her sister was feeling down. She packed an overnight bag and drove to Nicole's apartment, where they spent the entire day planning her exit. Clothes, documents, jewelry, laptop. Nicole listed. "What else do you need?" "My grandmother's quilt. The photo albums from before I met Brandon. My design books." They made a list of everything Simone wanted to take. Essential items she could pack quickly Sunday night. Everything else could be dealt with later, through lawyers and mediators. "What about furniture?" Simone shook her head. "I don't want any of it. Everything in that house, he chose it or we bought it together. I want all new things. A completely fresh start. That's going to be expensive. I have the money from my freelance work. And if I get the Seattle job, I'll have plenty more." Simone looked at her sister. "I'm not going to be broken like he planned. I'm going to thrive." Nicole hugged her. "You already are." Sunday morning, Simone went home. Brandon was playing golf with colleagues. She had the house to herself for 6 hours. She worked methodically, pulling clothes from the closet, wrapping jewelry carefully, packing books and photos. Everything fit into 3 suitcases and 2 boxes. She loaded them into her car, which was parked in the garage where Brandon wouldn't see. Then she cleaned up every trace of her packing. Put hangers back evenly in the closet. Made sure nothing looked disturbed. At 4 p.m., Brandon came home sunburned and happy. They ordered takeout and watched a movie. He fell asleep on the couch halfway through, and Simone sat next to him, studying his face. This was the man she'd loved. The man she'd trusted with her heart, her future, her grandmother's legacy. He looked peaceful in sleep, almost innocent. But she knew better now. At midnight, after Brandon had gone to bed, Simone sat at the kitchen table one last time. She wrote a note in her careful handwriting. "Brandon, by the time you read this, you'll understand why I left. You'll have been served with divorce papers and court orders. You'll know that I know everything. I heard the conversation with Tanya. I found the offshore accounts. I documented every theft, every lie, every piece of your plan to destroy me. You thought I was weak. You thought I was stupid. You thought I'd never find out, and even if I did, that I'd fall apart. You were wrong. I'm not the woman you think I am. I'm not the woman you tried to erase. I'm someone you never bothered to really know. Don't try to contact me. Don't try to explain. We're done. Simone. She folded the note and put it in an envelope. Left it on the kitchen counter where he'd see it in the morning. Then she grabbed her purse and walked out to the garage. Got in her car with its packed suitcases and boxes. Started the engine. At 12:47 a.m., Simone drove away from the house she'd called home for 5 years. In her rearview mirror, the windows were dark. Brandon was asleep inside, thinking everything was fine. Thinking his plan was working perfectly. By morning his world would shatter. And Simone would already be gone. Simone sat in Nicole's living room Monday morning, her hands wrapped around a coffee mug. Her phone was off. She didn't want to see Brandon's calls or texts when he woke up and found her note. At 9:15 a.m., Patricia called Nicole's phone. It's done. Papers filed, court orders approved, sheriff is on his way to serve Brandon at his office. The accounts should be frozen within the hour. How long until he knows everything? He'll be served in about 20 minutes. Give him an hour to process and try calling you. When he can't reach you, he'll probably call the house phone, your sister, maybe even show up at your old office if he thinks you're there. Let him scramble. Simone felt a strange lightness in her chest. And the offshore accounts? Frozen. All 5 of them. Plus the joint accounts, the investment accounts, everything. The only money he has access to is whatever's in his wallet and his personal checking, which had about $800 last time we checked. Nicole, who was listening on speaker, grinned. You love to hear it. After Patricia hung up, Simone and Nicole sat in tense silence, watching the clock. 9:30 a.m. came and went. Then 9:45. At 9:52, Simone's phone, still powered off, sat on the coffee table like a bomb waiting to explode. You should turn it on, Nicole said. See what he's saying. Not yet. Let him wonder a little longer. At 10:30, they turned on the TV for distraction. Some morning talk show discussing relationship advice. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. At 11 o'clock, Simone finally powered on her phone. 17 missed calls from Brandon. 23 texts. The messages scrolled across her screen in increasingly frantic succession. Simone, where are you? I got served at work. Everyone saw. Call me. This is a mistake. We need to talk. Why did you freeze the accounts? How am I supposed to live? Just call me. Please. You don't understand what you're doing. I can explain everything. Simone, please. I love you. She deleted the messages without responding. A text from a number she didn't recognize. This is Tanya. We need to talk about Brandon. Please call me. Simone blocked the number immediately. At 1 p.m., Patricia called again. Brandon tried to access his offshore accounts. Found them frozen. His lawyer just called mine. They want to negotiate. Already? Already. He's panicking. Probably realized that being served at his office means his employer knows about the divorce. If they start looking into the financial irregularities we flagged, he's in serious trouble. Patricia sounded satisfied. His lawyer is claiming this is all a misunderstanding. That you're overreacting to a marital spat. I told him to review the evidence we're submitting with the divorce filing and call back when he's ready to have a serious conversation. What evidence? Everything. The baby monitor recording. The offshore account statements. The emails between Brandon and Tanya. The transfers from joint accounts. All of it. I filed it under seal so it's not public record, but the judge and Brandon's lawyer will see everything. Simone felt something like justice settling in her bones. What happens now? We wait. Brandon's lawyer will try to negotiate a settlement to avoid this going to trial. But we're not settling for anything less than full restitution, division of remaining assets in your favor, and no alimony for him. Plus, I'm pushing for attorney fees and damages. Can we actually get all that? With what he did? Absolutely. He committed fraud, Simone. Clear, documented fraud. No judge is going to look kindly on that. After hanging up, Simone felt restless. She couldn't sit in Nicole's apartment waiting. She needed to move, to do something productive. Want to go apartment hunting? Nicole suggested. Even if you end up in Seattle, you need somewhere to stay in the meantime. They spent the afternoon looking at furnished short-term rentals. Small one-bedrooms in safe neighborhoods. Places Simone could afford with her freelance income until the divorce settled or she got a permanent job. They found a place in a modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city. The landlord could have it ready by Wednesday. First month plus deposit came to $3,000, which would take most of Simone's savings, but she didn't care. She needed space that was entirely hers. She signed the lease on the spot. Tuesday morning, Simone woke in Nicole's guest room to her phone ringing. Unknown number. She let it go to voicemail, then listened. "Simone, this is Richard Thornton from Brandon's company. I hope you don't mind me calling. Brandon gave me your number. I wanted to reach out because there seems to be some confusion about certain financial matters. I think it would benefit all parties if we could have a conversation. Please call me at your earliest convenience." Simone saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Patricia. The lawyer called back within minutes, voice sharp. "Do not respond to him. Do not talk to anyone from that company except through me. Richard Thornton is involved in this up to his eyeballs. He's trying to figure out what you know. Should I be worried? No. If anything, this is good. It means they're scared. The corporate investigation is moving forward, and they're trying to do damage control." Wednesday, Simone moved into her new apartment. Nicole helped her unpack the 3 suitcases and 2 boxes, which looked sparse in the empty space. "We'll go furniture shopping this weekend," Nicole promised. "Make this place feel like home." That evening, alone in her new apartment, Simone stood at the window watching the city lights. Her phone buzzed. "Patricia. Brandon's lawyer called with a settlement offer." "Already?" "He wants to settle fast before this gets messy. Here's what they're proposing. You get your inheritance back in full, 50-50 split of remaining marital assets. The house is sold and you split the proceeds, and the divorce is finalized with no further claims from either party." "What about the money he stole?" "That's where it gets interesting. They're claiming the offshore accounts were investment vehicles for both of you, not stolen funds. They're saying he was trying to build wealth for the marriage." "That's a lie. Obviously. And we can prove it. But trials are expensive and time-consuming. This offer would get you out of the marriage quickly with your inheritance intact." Simone thought about it. "Quick and easy versus long and uncertain. What do you think I should do?" "I think we counter. Ask for 70-30 split of marital assets in your favor, your inheritance plus interest and damages. The house goes entirely to you or he buys you out at market value, and he pays your attorney fees. If he really wants this to go away, he'll pay." "Do it." Thursday, Simone had her phone interview follow-up with the Seattle company. They offered her the position on the spot. Senior graphic designer, $75,000 a year plus benefits. Start date in 2 weeks if she could make it work. She accepted immediately. Friday, Brandon's lawyer responded to the counteroffer. They'd agree to everything except the house. Brandon wanted the house or nothing. Simone laughed when Patricia told her. "He can have it. I never want to see that house again anyway. Tell them I want full market buyout, and I want it in writing that he refinances to remove me from the mortgage." Done. By Friday evening, they had a settlement agreement in writing. Brandon would buy out Simone's half of the house at market value, refinance the mortgage solely in his name, return her inheritance with $5,000 in interest and damages, split remaining marital assets 70-30 in Simone's favor, and pay $15,000 toward her attorney fees. The divorce would be finalized in 90 days pending court approval. Simone signed the papers in Patricia's office, her hands steady. "How do you feel?" Patricia asked. "Free," Simone said. "And meant it." She called the Seattle company and confirmed her start date. 2 weeks from Monday. That gave her time to pack up her new apartment, drive across the country and find housing in Seattle. Saturday she went shopping with Nicole. Bought a bed, a couch, a dining table. Basics to fill her apartment for the next 2 weeks. Picked everything in colors she loved. Bright blue throw pillows. Green curtains. Red artwork for the walls. Nothing Brandon would have chosen. Nothing that reminded her of the house they'd shared. Sunday evening her doorbell rang. Simone looked through the peephole and saw Brandon standing in the hallway. Her heart rate spiked. She pulled out her phone and texted Patricia, "Brandon's at my door." The response came immediately, "Do not open it. You're not required to speak with him. Record if he says anything threatening." Simone turned on her phone's voice recorder and stood by the door. "Simone, I know you're in there," Brandon said. His voice was strained. "Please, just talk to me for 5 minutes." She stayed silent. "The company fired me. And Tanya. There's a criminal investigation. They found the offshore accounts. They're saying we embezzled." His voice cracked. "I could go to jail, Simone. I need help." I need a good lawyer and I don't have money for one because you froze everything. Good, Simone thought. Out loud she said nothing. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But we had 8 years together. That has to mean something. He was crying now. Actually crying. Please don't let me lose everything. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you knew about the accounts. The audacity was stunning. He wanted her to lie for him. To protect him from the consequences of his own crimes. Simone, please. She recorded 30 seconds of silence, then turned off the recorder and sent it to Patricia with a note. He asked me to lie to investigators. Patricia responded, forward this to the police. That's attempted witness tampering. Simone forwarded the recording and Brandon's words exactly as she'd documented them. Then she texted the building's security, there's someone at my door who won't leave. Can you please remove him? 5 minutes later, she watched through the peephole as 2 security guards escorted Brandon to the elevators. He looked back at her door once, his face a mask of desperation and anger. She felt nothing. Not pity. Not anger. Not even satisfaction. Just a clean, clear sense of completion. Monday morning, Patricia called with news. The company is prosecuting Brandon and Tanya for embezzlement. Richard Thornton is cooperating with investigators to save himself. Your ex-husband is looking at serious jail time. What about the divorce? Should be finalized right on schedule. The settlement stands regardless of his criminal troubles. You'll get your money, your freedom, and your fresh start. And he gets what he deserves. Exactly. Simone spent the next 2 weeks preparing for Seattle. She sold most of her furniture to a used goods store. Packed what she wanted to keep into her car. Said goodbye to Nicole with promises to video call weekly. On her last night in town, she drove past the old house. The for sale sign was already up in the yard. Lights on in the windows. Brandon still living there, alone, waiting for his world to collapse completely. Simone looked at it once, then drove away without looking back. The next morning, she pointed her car west and started the long drive to Seattle. To a new job, a new city, a new life. To everything Brandon had tried to take from her. But she'd taken it back. And she'd taken it all on her own terms. Seattle smelled like rain and coffee and possibility. Simone arrived on a Tuesday afternoon after 3 days of driving, her car packed with everything she owned. The city rose up around her, green and gray and alive, nothing like the flat sameness of the life she'd left behind. She'd found an apartment online. A 1-bedroom in Capitol Hill with hardwood floors and big windows. The landlord, a woman named Ruth, met her at the building with keys and a welcome basket of local coffee and pastries. First time in Seattle? Ruth asked as they rode the elevator to the 3rd floor. First time living here. I came for work. What do you do? Graphic design. Tech company downtown. Ruth smiled. You'll love it here. Lots of creative people in this neighborhood. Coffee shops, art galleries, music venues. Good energy. The apartment was perfect. Empty and clean and waiting to become hers. After Ruth left, Simone stood in the middle of the living room and turned slowly, taking it all in. Sunlight came through the windows. The walls were white, a blank canvas. She'd start work Monday. That gave her 5 days to settle in, to buy furniture, to learn her way around the city. Her phone buzzed. Nicole. Did you make it? Just got here. The apartment is great. Send pictures. Jerome and I are living vicariously through your adventure. Simone sent photos of each room, the view from the windows, the tree-lined street below. Then she changed into comfortable clothes and went exploring. The neighborhood was everything Ruth promised. Cafes with outdoor seating despite the drizzle. Vintage clothing shops with window displays that looked like art installations. A used bookstore with a cat sleeping in the window. People walked past in rain jackets and boots, unbothered by the weather, dogs on leashes, canvas bags over shoulders. Simone found a coffee shop called Zeitgeist and ordered a latte. Sat by the window watching people pass. No one knew her here. No one knew about Brandon or the divorce or the baby monitor or any of it. She could be anyone. She could be herself. That thought settled into her chest, warm and reassuring. She'd spent so long being Brandon's wife, shaping herself to fit his needs, his image, his plans. Now she got to figure out who Simone was on her own. Over the next few days, she furnished her apartment piece by piece. Found a couch at a consignment shop, blue velvet like she'd always wanted. Bought a bed and a desk from IKEA, assembling them herself with a sense of accomplishment that surprised her. Hung art prints she found at Pike Place Market. Filled the kitchen with dishes and cookware in colors that made her happy. By Sunday evening, the apartment looked like a home. Hers and no one else's. Monday morning, she dressed carefully for her first day. Green blouse, black pants, comfortable shoes. She braided her hair and put on the gold earrings her grandmother had given her. Looked in the mirror at a professional woman ready to start a career on her own terms. The office was downtown, all glass and modern lines. Janelle, her new boss, met her in the lobby. "Welcome to the team. Ready for orientation?" Simone smiled. "Absolutely." The day passed in a blur of introductions and training. She met the design team, 12 people from all over the country and world. Saw her workspace, a corner desk with 2 monitors and a view of Puget Sound. Learned the company's systems and processes. Went to lunch with 3 colleagues who laughed easily and talked about projects and weekend plans. By the end of the day, her head was full of new information, but she felt energized instead of exhausted. "How was day 1? Janelle asked as Simone prepared to leave. "Perfect. This is exactly what I needed. We're glad to have you. See you tomorrow." Simone walked back to her apartment through light rain, feeling the city embrace her. She stopped at a grocery store and bought ingredients for dinner. Cooked in her new kitchen, the window open to let in the sound of traffic and rain. Ate at her small dining table with a book propped open beside her plate. This was peace. This was what she'd been missing. Just being alone with herself, comfortable in her own space, doing simple things without walking on eggshells or playing a role. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. "Divorce finalized today. You're officially free." Simone sat back in her chair, the words sinking in. Officially free. 8 years of marriage erased by legal decree. She waited for sadness or regret, but felt only relief. She texted back, "Thank you for everything. You did the hard part. Enjoy your new life. You earned it." That weekend, Nicole flew out to visit. Simone picked her up from the airport Friday evening, and they screamed and hugged like teenagers. "Show me everything," Nicole demanded. They spent Saturday exploring the city. Pike Place Market with its flying fish and flower stalls and street musicians. The waterfront with its ferries and seafood restaurants. The Space Needle, which they rode to the top just because they could. Capitol Hill's vintage shops and coffee houses. "You look different," Nicole said over dinner that night. "Lighter somehow. I feel different. Like I can breathe fully for the first time in years." "Have you heard from him at all?" Simone shook her head. "He texted a few times the first week. Asking for money, asking for help with his lawyer. I blocked his number. Patricia said the criminal trial is scheduled for next year. But that's not my problem anymore." "And Tanya?" "Apparently she took a plea deal. Testified against Brandon in exchange for reduced charges. Patricia said she's cooperating with everything to save herself." Nicole raised her wine glass. "To people getting what they deserve." "To fresh starts," Simone countered. Sunday morning they had brunch at a place that served the best eggs Benedict Simone had ever tasted. Then they walked through Volunteer Park, the grass wet with dew, the sky clearing to blue. "Are you happy?" Nicole asked. Simone thought about it. Really thought. "I'm getting there. I'm not all the way yet. There's still some hurt, some anger. But I'm healing. And yeah, I think I'm happy." "Good. You deserve it." After Nicole left Sunday evening, Simone sat in her apartment feeling the quiet. But it wasn't a lonely quiet. It was peaceful. She opened her laptop and started working on a personal design project, something she'd been thinking about for weeks. A series of illustrations about transformation, about becoming. The work flowed easily, her hands knowing exactly what to create. Hours passed without her noticing. When she finally looked up, it was nearly midnight, and she had the beginnings of something beautiful. The next weeks fell into a rhythm. Work during the day, where she quickly proved herself as a valuable team member. Projects that challenged her, colleagues who respected her skills. Evenings in her apartment, cooking simple meals, working on personal art, reading books she'd been meaning to get to for years. Weekends exploring the city. She found a farmer's market she loved, bought fresh produce and flowers every Saturday. Discovered running trails along the water. Joined a community art class at a local studio. It was at the art class, 6 weeks into her new life, that she met someone who would change everything. 2,000 miles away, Brandon sat in a cramped apartment that smelled like mildew and defeat. The one-bedroom rental was all he could afford after Simone took her portion of the house sale. His paychecks had stopped when the company fired him. His savings were gone, spent on lawyers who still couldn't save him from what was coming. The criminal trial was set for February. His lawyer had advised him to take a plea deal, but Brandon refused. He was certain he could explain everything, make the jury understand that it had all been a misunderstanding, a series of unfortunate financial decisions that looked worse than they were. His lawyer had looked at him with something like pity and said, "Mr. Sterling, they have recordings of you and Miss Tanya discussing the embezzlement. They have paper trails showing where the money went. They have testimony from Richard Thornton. There is no explaining this away." Brandon had fired that lawyer and hired another, cheaper one who was at least willing to fight. But deep down, in the quiet moments late at night, Brandon knew he was going to lose. He thought about Simone constantly. How had she known? How had she figured it all out without him noticing? The baby monitor, Patricia had revealed during the divorce proceedings. A baby monitor in his suitcase. The sheer cleverness of it infuriated and impressed him in equal measure. He'd underestimated her completely. His phone buzzed. Another creditor calling about overdue bills. He let it go to voicemail. They'd have to get in line with all the others. The doorbell rang. Brandon answered it to find 2 FBI agents on his doorstep. "Mr. Sterling? We have some questions about your offshore accounts and their connection to several other individuals involved in a larger financial fraud scheme." His blood went cold. "I have a lawyer." "That's your right. But you should know that Miss Tanya has provided testimony linking you to Richard Thornton and 3 other executives in a systematic embezzlement operation spanning 2 years. If you'd like to cooperate, now would be the time." Brandon closed the door in their faces and called his lawyer with shaking hands. Meanwhile, Tanya sat in her own small apartment, ankle monitor visible beneath her pants. The plea deal had kept her out of jail for now, but she was confined to her home except for work at the grocery store where she'd found employment stocking shelves. Marketing director to grocery clerk. The fall had been swift and brutal. She'd testified against Brandon, told investigators everything about the offshore accounts, the embezzlement plan, Richard's involvement. She'd handed over emails, texts, financial records. Thrown Brandon under the bus to save herself. And still, she was facing 3 years probation, a criminal record, and the knowledge that her career in corporate America was over. She thought about Brandon sometimes. The way he'd promised her a future, a life together, freedom from financial worry. All lies. He'd been using her just like he'd been using Simone, except at least Simone had gotten out with her dignity intact. Tanya had nothing but shame and a criminal record. Her phone rang. Her mother, calling again to ask how this had happened, how her daughter had thrown away everything for a married man and a scheme that was doomed from the start. Tanya didn't answer. She had no good explanations. Just regret that tasted like metal in her mouth. Back in Seattle, Simone knew none of this. She'd blocked Brandon's number, refused to follow news about the criminal case, asked Patricia to handle any remaining details without involving her unless absolutely necessary. She was focused on building, not dwelling on destruction. At work, she just finished a major project redesigning the company's entire brand identity. The executive team loved it. Janelle had pulled her aside to say a promotion was being discussed. In her personal life, the art class had become the highlight of her week. The instructor was a patient older woman named Grace who encouraged experimentation and praised Simone's bold use of color. And then there was Isaiah. He'd started the class the same night as Simone, sitting at the easel next to hers. Tall, with warm brown skin and thoughtful eyes. He worked as an architect, he'd mentioned during their first conversation, and took art classes to keep his creative side active. They'd started chatting during breaks. Small talk at first. Then longer conversations about design philosophy, about Seattle, about what had brought them each to the city. Simone had been vague about her past. Needed a change was all she'd said. Isaiah hadn't pushed. He was kind in a way that felt genuine. Held doors, offered to help clean up after class, listened more than he talked. After the 3rd week, he'd asked if she wanted to get coffee after class. Simone had hesitated. She wasn't ready to date. Wasn't sure she'd ever be ready after Brandon. But coffee wasn't dating. Coffee was just coffee. Sure, she'd said. They'd gone to a small cafe down the street, talked until it closed at 10. He told her about growing up in Portland, about his architecture firm, about the community center he was helping design pro bono. She told him about her graphic design work, about loving Seattle, about starting over after a difficult time. "We all need fresh starts sometimes," Isaiah had said, and something in his tone made her think he understood more than she'd said. They started getting coffee after every class. Then he asked if she wanted to see a gallery opening with him on Saturday. Then if she'd like to go hiking on one of the trails he knew. Simone found herself saying yes more often than no. But she kept boundaries clear. When Isaiah asked about her past, she stayed vague. When he reached for her hand during a movie, she kept hers in her lap. When he invited her to his apartment, she suggested meeting in public places instead. She liked him. genuinely liked him. But she was terrified of trusting too quickly again, of missing red flags, of building something on a foundation that would crumble. Isaiah seemed to understand. He never pushed, never demanded more than she was willing to give. Just showed up consistently, kindly, patiently. 3 months into her Seattle life, Simone woke up one Saturday and realized she was genuinely happy. Not just healing or surviving. Actually happy. Her apartment felt like home. Her job fulfilled her creatively and financially. She had friends, had hobbies, had a life that belonged entirely to her. And maybe, possibly, she was starting to believe she could have more. That what Brandon had done didn't have to define her capacity to trust and love. That night, Isaiah took her to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the water. They ate and talked and laughed, and when he walked her to her door he asked, "Can I see you again?" "We see each other twice a week at class," Simone teased. "You know what I mean. Can I take you on a proper date? Dinner and a movie or whatever you'd enjoy." Simone looked at him. Really looked. At his honest face, his patient presence, the way he'd never once made her feel rushed or pressured. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that." His smile was like sunrise. As Simone went inside her apartment that night, her phone buzzed with a news alert. She almost ignored it, but the name caught her eye. Brandon Sterling pleads guilty to embezzlement charges. She clicked on the article. Skimmed the details. Guilty plea, sentencing in 3 months, prosecution recommending 4 years in federal prison. Simone felt nothing. Not victory, not sadness. Just a distant sense of closure, like watching a storm pass over mountains far away. She deleted the article and texted Isaiah. "Thank you for tonight. Looking forward to our date." Then she got ready for bed, her last thought before falling asleep about what to wear on Saturday and whether Isaiah liked Italian food or preferred something more casual. Brandon's consequences were his own. She had a future to build. The date with Isaiah was dinner at a cozy Italian place in Fremont, followed by a walk along the Ship Canal. They talked about everything and nothing. Favorite books, worst job experiences, whether pineapple belonged on pizza. "It absolutely does not," Isaiah said with mock seriousness. "That's a hill I'm willing to die on." "What if I told you I love pineapple pizza?" He clutched his chest dramatically. "Then I'd have to seriously reconsider this relationship." Simone laughed, the sound surprising her. When had laughing become so easy again? "Relationship?" she asked, keeping her tone light but her heart suddenly racing. Isaiah stopped walking. They were on a bridge overlooking the water, boats passing beneath them, lights reflecting off the surface. "I know we're taking things slow. I respect that. But Simone, I really like you. I want to see where this goes if you're open to it." She looked at him, this man who'd appeared in her life like an unexpected gift. "I like you too. But I need you to know something." "Okay." She took a breath. "I'm divorced. It was recent. My ex-husband cheated on me and tried to steal everything I had. I found out, got out, and started over here. But that's why I've been cautious. Why I need to go slow." Isaiah nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Thank you for telling me. That couldn't have been easy." He paused. "Can I share something too?" "Of course. I was engaged 3 years ago. We'd been together since college. I thought she was it, you know? Then I found out she'd been having an affair with my business partner. They're married now actually. Have a kid." "Isaiah, I'm so sorry." "It's okay. I mean, it wasn't okay for a long time. I was angry, bitter. Didn't trust anyone. But I did therapy, worked on myself, learned that what she did wasn't about me. It was about her choices." He met Simone's eyes. "So I get it. I get needing to go slow, needing to be careful. And I'm willing to move at whatever pace you need." Something loosened in Simone's chest. "You really mean that?" "I really do. Because you're worth waiting for." They stood on the bridge for a long time after that, talking about their past hurts, their healing processes, their hopes for the future. It felt different from any conversation Simone had ever had with Brandon. There was no performance, no trying to be what the other person wanted. Just two people being honest about their scars and their strengths. The next weeks, their relationship deepened naturally. Coffee dates turned into weekend hikes. Art class became their tradition, followed by dinner at different restaurants around the city. Isaiah met Nicole via video call and charmed her immediately. Simone met Isaiah's friends at a game night and felt welcomed into their group. But they kept things at a careful pace. Goodnight kisses at Simone's door but no pressure for more. Thoughtful texts but no demands for constant contact. Building trust one honest moment at a time. At work, Simone got the promotion. Senior designer to creative director with a team of 4 people reporting to her. The raise was substantial, enough that she could start saving for a down payment on a condo instead of renting. She called Nicole with the news. "You're killing it, Simone. A new city, a new job, a promotion, a good man who treats you right. This is everything you deserve." It feels surreal sometimes. Like maybe I'll wake up and still be in that house, still be married to Brandon, still be living that lie. But you're not. You got yourself out. You built this new life with your own hands. It was true. Every good thing in her life now she'd earned herself. The job she'd applied for and interviewed for and worked hard at. The apartment she'd found and furnished and made into a home. The relationships she'd built on honesty instead of performance. Even Isaiah, as much as she valued him, wasn't necessary for her happiness. He enhanced it, added to it, but didn't define it. She'd learned that lesson well. 4 months into their relationship, Isaiah asked her to come to his apartment for dinner. He'd cook, he promised. Promised it would be good. Simone agreed, feeling only a slight flutter of nerves. His apartment was in Queen End, smaller than hers but filled with architectural drawings and models. Windows overlooked the city. The kitchen smelled like garlic and herbs. "You actually can cook," Simone said, impressed by the pasta dish he'd prepared. "I have hidden talents." He poured wine and they sat at his small table. "So, I wanted to talk to you about something." Simone's stomach tightened. "Okay. Nothing bad," he assured her quickly. "I just wanted to say that these past few months with you have been really special to me. I know we're taking things slow and I'm not trying to rush anything. But I want you to know that I'm serious about this. About us." "I'm serious too," Simone said, surprised by how true it was. "You've been patient and kind and honest. You make me feel safe." "Good. Because I think we have something real here. Something worth building on." He reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm not him, Simone. I'm not going to hurt you like that." "I know. I'm starting to really believe that." They finished dinner and moved to the couch. Isaiah put on music, something jazzy and soft. They talked about his upcoming project, a sustainable housing development. About her team at work and how she was learning to be a leader. "Can I ask you something?" Isaiah said eventually. "Always. Do you ever think about confronting him? Your ex? Getting closure or an apology or something?" Simone considered it. "I used to think I needed that. Needed him to acknowledge what he did, to understand how much he hurt me. But I don't anymore. The best closure I got was leaving and building this life without him. He doesn't get any more of my time or energy. That's really healthy. It took work to get here. Lots of therapy, lots of journaling, lots of crying to my sister at midnight. But I got here." Isaiah pulled her closer. "I'm glad you did." They kissed, soft and slow and comfortable. When Simone finally went home that night, she felt settled in a way she hadn't in months. Maybe years. She was building something good. Something real. Something entirely her own. Her phone buzzed as she got ready for bed. An email from Patricia. "Wanted to update you. Brandon was sentenced today. 4 years in federal prison followed by 3 years probation. Restitution payments to the company and to several other affected parties. He won't be bothering you again." Simone read the email twice, letting it sink in. 4 years. By the time he got out, she'd be settled in her career, maybe have bought a house, maybe be married to someone who actually valued her. She'd be so far beyond him that his release wouldn't matter at all. She replied to Patricia, "Thank you for everything. I'm doing really well here." Then she deleted the email and opened her project files. She had work to do on a new client pitch and she wanted it to be perfect. Brandon's story was over. Hers was just getting started. 6 months into her Seattle life, Simone had established routines that felt like home. Saturday morning runs along Green Lake. Sunday brunch with Isaiah at their favorite spot. Tuesday night art class. Wednesday evening video calls with Nicole. Thursday team meetings where she led her design group through complex projects. Her life had structure and joy in equal measure. Then, on a random Tuesday evening in November, her building's front desk called. "Miss Harrison? There's someone here asking to see you. A Brandon Sterling. Should I send him up?" Simone's blood went cold. "He's here? In Seattle?" "In the lobby, yes. Says it's urgent. Don't send him up. I'll be right down." She grabbed her phone and texted Isaiah. "Brandon is here. In my building." His response was immediate. "On my way. Don't see him alone." Then she texted Nicole and Patricia, letting them know what was happening. Patricia responded with clear instructions. "Record everything. Do not agree to anything. If he threatens you, call 911 immediately." Simone pulled on a jacket and went downstairs, her heart pounding but her mind clear. She'd handled worse than this. She'd survived the discovery, the divorce, the rebuilding. She could handle one conversation with her ex-husband. Brandon stood in the lobby looking nothing like the confident man she'd been married to. He'd lost weight. His clothes hung loose on his frame. His face was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked older, broken. For a moment, Simone felt something like pity. Then she remembered the baby monitor conversation, and the pity evaporated. "What are you doing here?" she asked, staying near the front desk where the security guard could hear everything. "Simone, thank you for seeing me. I didn't say you could come here. How did you even find my address?" "I hired someone to find you. I needed to talk to you." He took a step closer. She took a step back. "Please. Just 5 minutes. You have 3. Start talking." Brandon looked around at the lobby, clearly uncomfortable with the public setting. "Can we go somewhere private?" "No. Here or nothing." He sighed. "Fine. Look, I'm being sentenced next week. 4 years in federal prison. My lawyer says it's final, no appeals left. I'm going away, Simone. For a long time." "I know. Patricia told me." "Right. Of course she did." He ran a hand through his hair. "I came here to apologize. For everything. For the affair, for the money, for the plan to leave you with nothing. It was wrong. All of it was wrong." Simone crossed her arms. "Is that what your lawyer told you to say?" "What? No. I mean, he said an apology might help at sentencing, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I need you to understand that I'm sorry. That I know I destroyed something good." "You didn't destroy something good. You never valued it in the first place." Simone's voice was calm, factual. "You married me because you thought I'd make you look stable. You used me for 8 years. You planned to steal everything I had, including my grandmother's money. You conspired with your mistress to frame me as financially irresponsible. The only thing you're sorry about is getting caught." Brandon flinched. "That's not fair." "Fair? You're going to talk to me about fair?" She felt her anger rising and forced it back down. "You have 2 minutes left. Say what you came to say." "I need help. I don't have anyone else to turn to. Tanya testified against me to save herself. My family won't talk to me. I need character witnesses for my sentencing hearing. I need someone to tell the judge that I'm not a monster, that I made mistakes but I'm still a good person deep down." The audacity was breathtaking. "You want me to be your character witness? I know it's a lot to ask, but we were married for 8 years. You know me better than anyone. If you could just write a letter or maybe testify that I was a good husband, that the affair was a mistake but I treated you well otherwise." Simone stared at him. "You're asking me to lie under oath to help you avoid prison time. I'm asking you to remember the good times we had. We loved each other once, didn't we? That has to count for something." "We didn't have good times, Brandon. I had a performance. I played the role of devoted wife while you planned my destruction. Every smile, every "I love you," every moment of our marriage was based on a lie. Your lie. Come on, it wasn't all bad. It was all false. Every bit of it." She checked her phone. "Your 3 minutes are up. Leave now or I'll have security remove you." "Simone, please." His voice cracked. "I'm going to lose everything. I'll be a convicted felon. No one will hire me when I get out. I'll have nothing. You have to help me. I don't have to do anything. You made your choices, now you live with the consequences." She turned toward the elevator. "Wait." Brandon grabbed her arm. Instantly the security guard was there. "Sir, let go of her." Brandon released her, hands up. "Sorry, I just—" "Simone, you're really not going to help me at all?" She looked at him one last time. Saw the desperation, the fear, the dawning realization that he'd lost everything that mattered. But she felt nothing. No pity, no anger, no satisfaction. Just indifference. "You deserve what you're getting," she said simply. "And I deserve better than what you gave me. Goodbye, Brandon." She got in the elevator and rode up to her floor. Behind her, she could hear the security guard escorting Brandon out of the building. Isaiah was waiting in the hallway when the elevator doors opened. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "He's gone." She unlocked her apartment door and they went inside. "He wanted me to be a character witness at his sentencing. Can you believe that? After everything he did? Apparently his mistress turned on him, his family won't talk to him, and I'm his last hope." Simone sat on her couch, suddenly exhausted. "He actually thought I'd help him." Isaiah sat next to her. "What did you say?" "I told him he deserves what he's getting. Then I left." "Good for you." You know what the weirdest part was? I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, nothing. He was just a stranger asking me to do something unreasonable. That's all he is to me now. A stranger. Isaiah pulled her close. That's growth. That's healing. Simone leaned against him, feeling safe and grounded. He looked so broken. Part of me wanted to feel bad for him. But then I remembered that he tried to break me first. He just failed. Because you're stronger than he ever realized. They sat together for a while, not talking, just being present. Eventually Isaiah asked, "Do you want me to stay tonight? I can sleep on the couch. Just so you're not alone." "That would be nice," Simone admitted. "But you don't have to sleep on the couch." He looked at her carefully. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. I trust you, Isaiah." "Completely." That night, they fell asleep together in her bed, no expectations or pressure, just the comfort of not being alone. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Simone slept deeply and dreamlessly, knowing she was exactly where she needed to be. The next morning, she woke to find Isaiah making breakfast in her kitchen. "Morning," he said, flipping pancakes. "Coffee's ready." "You're perfect, you know that?" "I'm adequately functional before noon." "That's different." She poured coffee and checked her phone. An email from Patricia. "Brandon tried to contact my office asking about you testifying at his sentencing. I told him in no uncertain terms that you would not be doing that and that any further attempts to contact you would result in a restraining order. He shouldn't bother you again." Simone showed the email to Isaiah. Patricia shut it down. "Good. You've moved on. You don't need to look back." "I know. And I don't plan to." They ate breakfast together, talking about their plans for the weekend. Normal, everyday things. A hiking trip they wanted to take. A new restaurant to try. Whether they should get tickets to see a play at the theater downtown. Her phone rang. "Nicole. Did he really show up in Seattle?" "He did. It was brief and pointless. He wanted me to help him at his sentencing." Nicole's laugh was sharp. "The nerve of that man. What did you tell him?" "That he deserves what he's getting." "Perfect. You know he's probably going to try again, right? People like him don't give up easily." Patricia said she'd get a restraining order if he tries. "And honestly, I don't think he has the energy to keep trying." He looked defeated. "Good. Let him be defeated somewhere far away from you." After hanging up, Simone finished her coffee and looked at Isaiah across the table. "Want to go for a run? Clear my head." "Absolutely." They changed into running clothes and headed out. The November air was crisp and cold, the sky bright blue. They ran along familiar routes, past the lake where ducks paddled and people walked dogs. Past coffee shops starting to fill with weekend crowds. Simone felt her muscles warm, her mind clear. Brandon's visit had been a blip, a tiny disruption in the life she'd built. But it hadn't shaken her foundation. She was too solid now, too rooted in her new reality. By the time they got back to her apartment, she'd put Brandon completely out of her mind. She had better things to think about. 1 year after leaving her marriage, Simone stood in the living room of the condo she'd just bought. 2 bedrooms, top floor, with a balcony overlooking the city. The walls were still bare, the room still empty, but it was hers. Entirely, completely hers. Nicole helped her carry in boxes from the moving truck. Jerome was there too, assembling furniture and making jokes about instruction manuals. "This place is gorgeous," Nicole said, looking out at the view. "You did it, Simone. You really built a whole new life." "We did it," Simone corrected. "You were there every step of the way. But you took the steps. I just cheered from the sidelines." Isaiah arrived with pizza and beer. They sat on the floor eating dinner off paper plates, planning where furniture would go, debating paint colors for the accent wall. "Green," Simone said firmly. "A deep forest green in the living room." "Whatever you want," Isaiah said. "It's your place." But the way he said "your place" sounded like he was thinking about it becoming our place someday. They'd been together almost a year now, taking things slow but steady. He'd met Nicole in person. She'd met his family. They'd talked about futures and plans and what they both wanted from life. Marriage wasn't on the table yet. Maybe wouldn't be for a long time. But partnership was. Commitment was. Building something real and lasting together. At work, Simone had led her team to win 3 major clients in the past year. Her boss had mentioned director positions opening up soon. Her salary had increased enough that buying the condo had been possible without stretching herself thin. She'd rebuilt her career from scratch and made it better than it had ever been before. Personally, she'd started painting again. Real painting with oils and canvas. Her apartment had been filled with works in progress. She'd even sold a few pieces at a local gallery showing. The art class was still a weekly ritual. Grace, the instructor, had become a mentor and friend. The community she'd found there had expanded her social circle, given her people who knew her as Simone the artist, not Simone the divorcee or Simone the victim. That night, after Nicole and Jerome left, Isaiah helped Simone unpack boxes in her bedroom. "So," he said casually, "how do you feel about all this? The condo, the new start, everything?" "Honestly, I feel proud. A year ago I was sleeping on my sister's couch, scared and hurt. Now I'm here. I own property. I have a career I love. I have you." "In that order?" he teased. "Maybe." She smiled. "But seriously, I'm happy. Really, genuinely happy. Not just surviving or healing. Actually thriving. You deserve it." Isaiah finished unpacking a box of books. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever think about him? About what happened?" Simone considered it honestly. "Sometimes. Not often. Maybe once a month I'll remember something, or I'll see a married couple that reminds me of what I thought I had. But it doesn't hurt anymore. It's more like remembering a bad dream. You know it happened, but it doesn't have power over you. That's healthy. I worked hard to get here. Therapy, journaling, leaning on Nicole, building this new life. I decided early on that I wasn't going to let what he did define me. I was going to use it as fuel to become better. And you did." She kissed him softly. "We both did. You could have let your ex ruin relationships for you. But you chose to heal and try again. Maybe that's what second chances are for. To prove that the first person was wrong about us." They finished unpacking and collapsed onto Simone's new bed. Through the window, the city lights sparkled like scattered stars. "I love you," Isaiah said quietly. "I know we haven't said that yet, but I do. I love who you are, how strong you've been, how you've rebuilt yourself. I love getting to be part of your life." Simone felt tears prick her eyes, but they were good tears. Happy tears. "I love you too. You've been patient and kind and exactly what I needed. Even when I didn't know I needed it." They lay together in the quiet, two people who'd been broken by others' choices, now choosing each other with open eyes and healed hearts. The next morning, Simone woke early. She made coffee and stood on her balcony watching the sunrise over Seattle. The city was waking up, people starting their days, living their lives. She was one of them now. Not an outsider, not a refugee from a destroyed marriage, but a full participant in her own life. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia, who she'd stayed in touch with occasionally. "Thought you'd want to know. Brandon was released early for good behavior. Served 2 years of his 4-year sentence. He's on probation for the next 3 years." Simone read the message twice. 2 years. He was out. Back in the world. She waited for fear or anger to rise up, but felt only a distant curiosity about what he might do with his life now. She texted back, "Thanks for letting me know. I'm not worried." And she wasn't. Brandon couldn't touch her life anymore. He was 2,000 miles away, a convicted felon trying to rebuild from nothing. While she was here, successful and loved and whole. Their paths would never cross again. She deleted the text and went inside to get ready for work. She had a big presentation this afternoon, and she wanted to review her materials one more time. Isaiah stumbled out of the bedroom, hair messy, looking adorably confused. "Coffee?" "On the counter." "You're amazing." "I know." She grinned. "Want to come to my presentation this afternoon? I could use a friendly face in the room. Wouldn't miss it." The presentation went perfectly. Her team's pitch won the client. Her boss pulled her aside afterward and mentioned the director position officially, asking if she'd be interested in applying. "Absolutely," Simone said without hesitation. That evening, she and Isaiah celebrated with dinner at their favorite Italian place. The same restaurant where they'd had their first date a year ago. "We should come here every year," Isaiah suggested. "Make it a tradition." "An anniversary dinner? Is that okay? Calling this our anniversary?" Simone thought about it. About how they'd built something careful and strong. About how he'd never once rushed her or pushed her or made her feel unsafe. About how they'd both come from places of hurt and chosen to heal together. "Yeah," she said. "That's more than okay." Over dessert, Isaiah pulled out a small box. Simone's heart jumped. "Isaiah. It's not what you think. I mean, someday it might be. But not yet." We agreed to take things slow. He opened the box to reveal a delicate gold bracelet with a small charm. The charm was shaped like a phoenix. For rising from the ashes. For becoming something new and beautiful. Simone's eyes filled with tears. "It's perfect." He fastened it around her wrist. "You did all the hard work. I just got to watch you soar." They walked home hand in hand, through streets they'd walked dozens of times, past shops and cafes they'd made their own. Past the coffee shop where they'd had their first conversation after art class. Past the park where they'd had their first kiss. This was her city now. Her life. Her choice. At her door, Isaiah kissed her goodnight. "I'll see you tomorrow?" "Always." Inside her condo, Simone looked around at the space she'd created. The green accent wall was finished. Furniture arranged just how she liked it. Art on the walls. Photos of Nicole and Jerome, of Isaiah, of herself at the lake, at the office, at the art show where she'd sold her first painting. Evidence of a life well lived. A life earned through courage and strength and refusing to be destroyed. She touched the phoenix charm on her wrist and smiled. Brandon had tried to reduce her to nothing. But nothing was exactly what she'd been scared of becoming. So she'd become everything instead. Creative director. Homeowner. Artist. Friend. Sister. Girlfriend. Survivor. Not a survivor, actually. That word suggested ongoing struggle, perpetual recovery. She was thriving. Simone walked to her balcony one last time before bed. The city spread out before her, full of light and possibility. Somewhere in the world, Brandon was serving probation, dealing with the consequences of his choices. Tanya was working whatever job she could find with a criminal record. Their actions had caught up with them. But none of that was Simone's concern anymore. She'd gotten her revenge by living well. By refusing to be destroyed. By building something beautiful from the ruins of what he tried to burn down. The phoenix didn't get revenge on the fire. It simply rose, transformed and stronger. And Simone had risen. She went to bed that night in her own home, in her own city, living her own truth. And for the first time in her life she felt completely, utterly free. The future stretched ahead of her, undefined and full of potential. Maybe she'd get that director position. Maybe she and Isaiah would move in together eventually. Maybe she'd have a solo art show. Maybe she'd write a book about starting over. Or maybe none of those things would happen, and something entirely different and wonderful would unfold instead. That was the gift of freedom. The ability to choose her own path, make her own mistakes, celebrate her own victories. Brandon had tried to steal that from her. But she'd taken it back. And she was never giving it away again.